Hey, today we are going to be doing a case study on James and Jane Roberts, who have a net worth of about $4 million and are getting ready to enter their golden years, that is retirement. James and Jane Robert are considering doing or taking advantage of Roth conversions in retirement. And one thing that I want to illustrate with this case study is the importance of your living expenses and the sources of funds in retirement when it comes to considering Roth conversions. So let's see what we can learn with this case study. Okay, we've got Jim and Jane here. We can immediately see that they've done a great job of setting themselves up for their retirement in the next 5 years. We've got a 99% probability of success here. We've got $4 million in net worth, got $50,000 cash in the bank, $3 million in 401ks, and $1 million home, and they have already paid off all their debts. So that is fantastic. We can take a look at their asset simulation here over the next 40 years here, and we can see that they run very little risk of actually running out of money. They've got a 60-40 portfolio. This looks great to me given their stage in life. And looking at their tax allocation, we see that all of their liquid assets are in tax deferred accounts, those 401ks. These are pre-tax accounts. And this is the issue that we want to address for Jim and Jane, because not only are they going to run into the issue of RMDs in their retirement, which nobody wants to pay, they are also going to leave the highest possible taxed asset that they can leave to their beneficiaries. Pre-tax accounts are the least tax-friendly accounts to inherit. We know that their beneficiaries will be forced to distribute those accounts over a number of years and pay income taxes. So what Jim and Jane want to do is twofold. One, they want to see if there's something they can do to minimize their taxes in retirement, the amount of taxes they pay to the federal government over their retirement, and also maximize the amount that their beneficiaries are left with. So let's see if we can do that for them. If we take a look over here at their tax situation over the next 40 years, we can see that they'll be paying income taxes, that looks like a combined rate of something like 27% here in their working years. And then we get this cliff where it just falls off, right? And this is when they retire. And in retirement, we have this big jump here around age 75. And you might be asking, what the heck is going on at age 75 that causes their income taxes to jump? And these are the RMDs that we were talking about. So we're going to, this by the way, this big valley here, this is what's known as the retirement income valley. This is the period of time from when you retire to before your RMDs kick in. And this is a great opportunity to take advantage of these lower federal income tax brackets to do Roth conversions. So that is what we are going to explore for Jim and Jane, with the idea in mind that our goals are twofold. We want to minimize the amount of federal taxes paid over the next 40 years, and we want to maximize the value of the accounts left to their beneficiaries, the after-tax value of these accounts. So let's see if we can do that. So if we hop over here and look at their cash flows, we immediately see some opportunities. If we look over here at this column, it really looks like Jim and Jane have a lot of discretionary income that will give us a lot of flexibility. because here's the thing about Roth conversions. If you are entering into retirement with all or most of your wealth in pre-tax accounts, and you want to take advantage of Roth conversions, one thing you're going to have to keep in mind is that Roth conversions are most valuable when you can take advantage of lower income tax buckets. So that 10%, 12% federal income tax bracket, if you can convert at those federal income tax brackets, that can be very beneficial. And of course, you can convert at higher income tax brackets, and sometimes it might make sense to do so, but it is, of course, more expensive to do so as well. So what you want to do when you are getting close to retirement is to ensure that you have a source of after-tax funds, or funds that are not going to substantially increase your income, to live off of. Because if you are completely living off of your pre-tax accounts, if we look at Jim and Jane here, they've got an anticipated $124,000 in expenses. And if none of their funds were in any taxable or Roth accounts, then that means all of these funds are going to have to come from their pre-tax accounts. And of course, when they pull the money from the pre-tax accounts, that's going to increase their income and make it much more difficult for them to do the Roth conversions that they want to do. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. Let's assume that Jim and Jane do not do anything to build a source of funds that will not be increasing their income. So these are funds in taxable brokerage accounts or funds in post-tax accounts. Now, as a quick aside, any funds you put in a taxable brokerage account will increase your income to the extent that those funds generate dividends or interest, but not when you pull funds out of a taxable brokerage account. You're not increasing your income directly like you would be in a pre-tax account. So if they did nothing, and let's say they wanted to target the 12% federal income tax bracket for their Roth conversions, they do pretty well, right? Over the next 40 years, they reduce their federal taxes paid by $324,000. That's fantastic. But if we take a look at these conversions, we can see that there's only a few years where they're taking advantage of these conversions, and that is because they are living off of their pre-tax accounts. We can see the withdrawal from their tax-deferred accounts are going mostly towards satisfying their living expenses, which when combined with the conversion amount is running into that 12% income tax bracket. It's preventing them from converting those funds more aggressively. We can see that they get another shot here after age 67 where they can make some conversions, but they are not getting to convert as much as they could if they had a bucket of taxable funds with which to live off of and with which to pay the taxes on those conversions. So let's take a look to see how that might change their situation. So if we go over here, let's say that James puts $50,000 in his taxable brokerage account. And let's see how that changes how much they are able to convert. Now remember, before they did this, there was only 1 year in which they could make a more or less substantial conversion. It was like $79,000. Here, they're getting a few more years to really knock out those conversions, make a more substantial dent in those conversions, because they had a source of funds that wasn't increasing their income and allowing them to take advantage of the lower, which allowed them to more effectively take advantage of those lower income tax brackets. And if we go over here to take a look at the federal income taxes paid, now instead of $300,000 less in federal income taxes, they are paying closer to $900,000. So they've almost tripled the amount of federal income tax reduction just by being mindful of the fact that if they have a source of funds that does not increase their income in retirement, that is a source of funds that are not inside pre-tax accounts, they will be able to more effectively take advantage of those lower income tax brackets doing their Roth conversions. And if we take a look at their tax-adjusted ending wealth, if they had not been able to engage in these conversions, we can see that 29% of their funds end up in tax-deferred accounts. These are the least advantageous to inherit. The balance ends up in taxable accounts. This is where their RMDs end up. And if they did engage in Roth conversions, we can see that now 27% of their ending wealth is in Roth accounts. These are tax-free accounts, the most beneficial to inherit. Another 21% is in tax-deferred, and 52% are in taxable. So we can see here that 52 plus 27 is 79% of their wealth ends up in the most advantageous buckets to inherit, versus 71%. That means they've got effectively a almost a 10% increase in the most advantageous buckets. But within those most advantageous buckets, the very most advantageous of Roth has seen a 27% increase, with the balance being in their tax-deferred accounts. And on top of that, they have paid $866,000 less in federal income taxes. If we take a look at their RMDs, they pay almost $2.7 million less in RMDs over their retirement years, which is absolutely fantastic. I hope you enjoyed that case study. The main takeaway here is that if you plan on spending a lot of money in retirement and taking advantage of Roth conversions, then it is crucial that you have some after-tax or taxable funds set aside so that you can take advantage of those lower income tax brackets. If you do not have those funds set aside, what is going to happen is that you are going to make it a lot more difficult to take advantage of those lower income tax brackets when doing those Roth conversions. My name is Erik Goodge. I am a chartered financial analyst and a certified financial planner and the owner of UVest Advisory. Let me know what you thought about this case study, and I will see you next time.